And let's look at a few different things. Yesterday, Micah Beckwith was in here with Chuck Pullen. Micah Beckwith was also here on the Lake County Republican Show. If you want to listen to that, Bob Starkey, he's a local Republican. He hosts that show, and you could go to JED TV and see that entire interview. Actually, I think there's two up there.
Or you could see it at 9 a.m. on WJOB Podcast Network, anywhere you get your podcast. You can listen to it.
Is it when you post it?
Yep.
All right, so if you want to listen to Micah Beckwith, the Secretary of State of Indiana, I did not listen to it yet. I will listen, like many of you do now, on the podcast version of that. And also, if you want to hear like Greg Kaplan's interviews, you can go to Jed's Journal, which is my podcast, and we'll get that up sometime this afternoon. We cut it up a little bit. But Beckwith will be on as Adriana is. It kind of started out, to be honest with you, like a student project here. I'm like, Adriana, why don't you start up start doing some of these as podcasts? And now the demand is great to do a professional podcast that we distribute on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube. Also, they get played here on AM 1230 and 104.7, and they get played on the JED TV loop on video. So we didn't realize what we had, and Adriana has quite, what do you got, like 10 now or something?
We have 13. We'll have 14 by come 1st of July.
All right, so we got 14 podcasts. I know a couple other people wanted in. Probably now's not a bad time in getting it going in July. I host a few of them. I think one of our most popular is Mastering Local Marketing. And if you are a person in business in the region, you need to listen to this. I'm on it. You listen to me. You hear me all the time. But I'm on it with Matt Hansen. And he is a digital marketing professor over here at Purdue Northwest. He's nationally known, and he's developing quite the following. I basically ask him questions, and he gives us, really what should be happening. I mean, there's a number of key things he said, Adriana, that we have implemented. I mean, how many times have I been in a meeting and said, well, Hansen says this and Hansen says that.
The funnel.
The funnel. The biggest one is the funnel.
Yeah.
And that is that it's basically, if you look at like Salesforce has an 11-step thing for a sale, and I'm like, God, I don't like any of that. And Google has an 8-step. And Matt Hansen is a proponent of his 3-step sales funnel. One is you got to make awareness at the top of the funnel, and then about halfway down is about consideration. And we talk about all the different levels of consideration from a possible client. And then you get to the bottom of the funnel, and that is the close or the client sector. And then he has a whole thing about how to service clients and how to use your existing client base to find more clients. And Adriana, I think basically by doing that podcast, we're up to 50 episodes almost. We're getting close.
We have our 50th episode drops on Friday. So after that, now we start. I told Hansen we will do season 2 now. So we'll do the seasons in increments of 50.
So I told Hansen in the beginning, we got to go for 2 years before we find out if it's any good. And I think already we've gotten the feedback that, we're getting listeners from different countries and not just in the United States. For whatever reason, somebody has shared it around.
People in Australia just love it.
People in Australia are all over this. And we're going to make sure that I say hi to Australia in the next podcast. But that's just one of them. Another one that I really enjoy doing is with Will Glaros. He calls it Limb Walkers. Will is just kind of like Kaplan in a way. He played football at Munster and big proponent of John Friend. And he had a massive insurance agency here. Then he partnered up with Hub, which is a national company, and obviously he got some decent change out of it. Pretty good for a kid, kind of a poor kid from Dalton, Illinois, living here in the region, and he's got great stories about his life. That podcast too. So very quickly, Adriana is putting together a different wing to our business. It's the WJOB Podcast Network. Now, they can go to Spotify and type in WJOB Podcast Network. Will they all come up?
All of them will come up at the same time, yep.
And then you got Region Republicans. Micah Beckwith will come up. Honestly, there's a couple kind of big names that we're talking to, and I'm surprised that it's coming to that. But really what we want is we want every town to have their own podcast. I know that sounds odd, like why would I have a podcast? Well, you need to tell everybody, if you're a town leader or a city leader, you somehow have to quit being afraid of getting out in the public, quit being afraid of telling your story, because if you don't tell your story, someone else will. Certainly the school city of Hammond's good at it, the school city of Griffith, town of Dyer, town of Munster. There's many more that Little Calumet River. I mean, these aren't riveting podcasts unless you're really into the river and you can go. Do we have a Little Cal podcasted yet?
We do not know. We can talk to them when it's, I think, July 1st.
What is it? It's an extra $50, right? Yeah, so I'm sure we can get it out of them. But we'll podcast that one. Let's podcast that one, too. I know.
I just got an idea. No, I got a good idea. How we were talking about doing a podcast for the documentary that you guys are making. What if that was added onto theirs as well as special episodes?
So you are right, because Ron Hunter died a couple days ago. He was a key interview for that we needed historically, and I had contact with him, and I'm like, he's Ron Hunter. I'll eventually get him. Well, we went out to pick up his paper on a doorstep, and that was it. He was 88 years old. Somehow he bent down or whatever. And I've known the guy all my life. My dad's 86, just turned 86, and he's like one of the latter ones, and I keep putting it off, and I'm like, my dad was joking. I go, Dad, we're gonna. I mean, no offense, but I want to do this interview sooner than later with you and Callie. And he's like, what? Because Ron Hunter died, you want to all of a sudden push up this interview? I thought we were going to do it right after the 4th. And I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe we'll see if we can do it before that. But there are, so you're right. And what?
We could title it one of the cool names that AI had provided for us.
So really we have way too many interviews to get into the documentary. But the agreement with the Little Cal is like, all right, let's interview these people so that we have it for the future use. A lot of people are dying or moving away, or some can't talk anymore and they're just too old. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. And it's happening more and more. So I thought I would just podcast everything and try to go through my version of what happened. And Adriana is running that network, so she's prompting me like, hey, when are we doing this? When are we doing this? So stay tuned. That'll be our 15th podcast, okay?
There we go.
So anyways, I just want to make sure that while I'm here, and if you got any questions, you can ask me. But I knew that this summer we had to retool everything that we're doing. In other words, we built this network of JED TV, and there is maybe there's a kind of lukewarm interest in having a general entertainment news talk 24-hour channel, but there is incredible interest in having sports on TV in the region. We did not expect that amount of demand. We did not expect that many businesses. So we're basically kind of going to the TV will be sports, and then the radio and the podcast will be news and talk. That's pretty much the plan, right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Which means that a 21-year-old senior in college is basically running one wing of our organization. And it doesn't seem to faze you.
No, because the moment that something like that phases you, that's when you seem unprepared for what's happening. And if you try to keep up with it, that's as best as you can do. There are some things where I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this, but I have tools. I have ability to research those things to learn how to do them. So I have that mindset of if I don't learn how to do it, then somebody else will. And I want to be able to have those skill sets. It's the overachiever in me in that sense.
Remember when Zoe Mintz came in?
Yes.
I think that made an impression on you.
Oh, no, it definitely did.
Remind people Zoe Mintz was a weather person here for a while. She went to IU, studied meteorology. Her dad's Dr. Michael Mintz. I grew up with him, kind of like Kaplan. As a matter of fact, they both know each other pretty well in the Jewish community. But she came in, and I introduced you to, and she just said the most odd thing. But tell what she said.
So she came in, and I was asking her about what her job is, how she does her job, and what advice she would have. And as she's talking to me, I can see that she's kind of analyzing how I am doing stuff back here, how I am addressing her, and all those things. And she told me, she's like, you would be a great director. And I was like, oh, okay. And I kind of took that, and I was like, all right. And looking at all the different options, I was like going like, okay, well, director, so then for this, you could go here, 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 and here. And she was also telling me that if you did want to go into news reporting, news anchoring, doing weather, then you have to be able to do everything. And whether that be that they need somebody to do audio, they need somebody to do camera, they need somebody to direct a segment, they need somebody to just say a few words and then come off camera, or if anything, they just need somebody to do some tasks that you may not think of that are important. That is something that will get you further in any job than just saying, I want to do just one thing and one thing.
She said, yeah, it's just literally. And Zoe Mintz she did a national thing recently. And there's another woman who was also weather here who used to do the weather from her bed in a dorm room over here at Valpo University. And I forget her name, but she is on the national weather feed. And Zoe Mintz is the weather woman in the San Francisco Bay Area for ABC. And she came in, and so she goes, oh, watch. She was just like staring at Adriana, watching her do it. You'll make a good director. And then she said something else. She said about waiting your turn. Mm-hmm. And what did it remind people what she said there?
So when it comes to waiting your turn, that people are taking younger people in very much earlier than what they used to. That when you're watching the news, you don't really see a lot of older people doing the news. And sometimes you do. Sometimes you'll see individuals that have been there for so many years. But the thing is, they are expensive. You bring in the younger people, you don't have to pay them as much. And that's how some people start to climb the ladder. And when somebody asks me, hey, what do you do for work? And I say, oh, I think what you said was that it's podcast COO. And when I say that, they very much turn their expression automatically like a light switch. And it's not one of those like, oh, getting confident, ego boost. It's one of the things that I see it as, yeah, it's changing a stereotype. Yes, I'm doing a job that somebody may have went to school for and has waited 10 plus years to get to where they're at. But the thing is, not only, yes, am I young doing this, but I'm also learning alongside with it. There are some bigger companies that have no idea how to do this, and it's a learning process as well. So I just kind of take it as, okay, here's what it is, and let's see what we can make of it.
Zoe basically was more direct. She said, do not wait your turn.
Yeah.
Go right now and go for the top wherever you want to go.
I
Because
think that scared you more than it scared me.
It scared me because I'm like, wait a second. We lost so many people. Sonny Santana's the big one. He's doing well at the Big Ten Network. Jimmy Mulaney's doing well up there. And I know that we train people and then, they get poached by other people, and that's how it's supposed to be here. But so then we started saying, we got to start taking people as sophomores, and we'll get the right people. And so that they'll stick around. All of a sudden, Adriana comes in as a sophomore. She goes, "Oh, I've been taking so many classes. I'm gonna graduate early." Okay, that's not what I expected. And then Zoe Mintz, who also left us very abruptly when she got a job in, I forget where it was. She went from somewhere small, and then she went to Albuquerque, and then she went to San Francisco. And who knows? I think she's network quality. She may be, taking over on one of the national morning shows, but she's pretty good. And so she tells Adriana that, and I'm like, listen, let her get her feet wet and give us, a couple of years here at least. But Zoe was like, no, you got it. You're going to be a great director. Do not think you got to wait your turn, and people are just moving up real quickly. I go, she's 20 years old, Zoe. Let her have a moment.
Let her breathe.
So we have a little bit of an issue here. We have, and I will not say the name, of somebody who has indicated interest in doing the podcast here. It's a national name, and typically I would handle that. And I'm like, well, you know what? Let's see what happens if Adriana is the contact. And at first I thought, well, maybe this person isn't going to take it seriously if a 21-year-old senior in college calls about, let's do the podcast, and here's how we're going to do it. Here's where we're going to distribute it. Here's how long it's going to be. Adriana's got a whole list. This is you got to adhere to it. And I don't know if this person is used to that, or being kind of told what to do by a 21-year-old student from the region. So we will find out in the next couple of weeks if I said, you know what, it's your network, you got to be the contact, and if the person is just, I'm sure they'll be fine with it. Whether they do it or not, I don't think it'll be because you're so young or whatever, but it is what it is. Hey, a couple of things. So Micah Beckwith was here yesterday. I'm going to go home and listen to that. Adriana's going to post that under Region Republicans podcast starting at 9 o'clock. Really, and I'll just tell you where it's headed. We're doing all of this news and talk, and we're doing a lot more with the Times, to be honest with you. Some of that will come out too. But when we talk here, that goes on to a podcast. That goes on, will go on to YouTube, and you'll have it that way. All the sports will be on JED TV, and then all the other stuff will be on the radio and on social media. And that's basically where we're coming, so you won't be freaked out when we're saying, hey, if you want to hear that again, you got to go to Apple or Spotify. That's just how it is. That's the world that works. Governor Braun replaces an entire board of directors at the Indiana Commerce Agency. And it's kind of an important story to a number of people in the economic development and doing projects here in the region. And they put a couple of region guys on there, including a union guy. And here I'll tell you, Governor Mike Braun is cleaning house at the Indiana Economic Development Corporation following allegations of extensive malfeasance connected to the state's commerce agency. The Republican chief executive removed the IEDC's entire board of directors yesterday and replaced them with new board members he said are more aligned with his goal of growing wages and building new job opportunities. You do remember when Braun came in recently, and I interviewed him at the Munster Chamber of Commerce, and he's very adamant about talking about small business. And here's what he said. I spent my life building a business here in Indiana, and I know that having an entrepreneurial, high-energy team in your corner makes all the difference. Here's some of the 9 new board members on the IEDC, which controls millions and millions of dollars and is a very important position to have in the state of Indiana. And one of those is no surprise, Gus Olympidis out of Family Express here in Northwest Indiana. Dave Fagan out of the Operating Engineers Local 150. I think he operates mostly out of Portage and he's that guy, but 150 covers a lot of the Chicago land area. So he put in Olympidis and Fagan making some of these decisions now. And that is maybe a little bit surprising. I don't know what the relationship between 150 and Braun is, but evidently it must be kind of strong, because to get Dave Fagan on that is kind of a coup for the operators. And then one of the investors over here in Hard Rock, a guy named Greg Gibson, I think he's out of like Terre Haute or just outside of Terre Haute. He's an investor in the Hard Rock over here in northern Indiana. He'll also be on it. What was very kind of surprising is a guy we've interviewed here, I don't know, a dozen times maybe, and that is John Gregg out of southern Indiana. He's the Democrat who ran for governor. He was the former Indiana House Speaker. And it was very surprising. Two kind of surprising names. Olympidis, I'm not surprised at that. Greg Gibson, I'm not surprised at that. He's kind of close to the heartbeat of what's going on, especially in Republican circles. But to put Dave Fagan out of the operators and to put John Gregg on there is surprising, and kind of shows some of the breadth that Braun is looking for. The people that are out include Sue McCloskey. You know who that is? You're driving down I-65, and I think it's exit 220, Fair Oaks Farms. And she is part of that, co-founder of Indiana's Fair Oaks Farms there. And Braun has ordered a forensic audit of the entire IEDC after one of the news services, Indiana Legislative Insight, detailed a web of potential self-dealing and conflicts of interest among highly compensated individuals at the IEDC and elsewhere, and including Elevate Ventures, the venture capital arm of the IEDC. Evidently, they have, I was reading in the Indy Star recently that they have inked a contract for $800,000 to do the forensic audit. So maybe that'll, I know that a number of projects are waiting for money in the Calumet region, and maybe getting a new board in there and moving things along. I'll tell you what, man, Braun doesn't waste any time, man. He just is like, all right, you're all out, and I got all these other people, new people, including a union guy and a Democrat coming in, and let's go. So any comments on that, all you got to do is call me at 219-845-1100. Also in the Calumet region, we were talking earlier with Walt about the finalizing the U.S. Steel Nippon merger, they're calling it, but really what I understand it is Nippon is buying U.S. Steel. Speaking of unions, it's steelworker unions. They were very much against that, and so were many of the politicians. A lot of people have gone kind of quiet. I think the fear was that if we went to war, could we make U.S. Steel make a bunch of, steel for tanks and that kind of stuff. And Trump put a clause in there that they'll have some say on the operations of that plant here in Gary and other United plates in the U.S. So I have heard very little out of the unions, very little out of Mervan or any of the other Democrats and Republicans were against this, and it went through, and it is exactly what Walt and I predicted during the election time. And say, hey, man, we've been around a long time. Here's what's going to happen. You got to come out and say you're against it. But in the end, you want a strong steel mill. You want, there's a lot of positives to it, and you're going to have to let it go through. And ultimately, Nippon Steel is going to own U.S. Steel right there in Gary, and I don't know if they're going to keep the name or what. Also, a very sad story. So I hate to even have to talk about this, but I don't know if you've been following this one, Adriana, but less than 3 weeks after graduating from Crown Point High School, 18-year-old Sailor Gistalisi, and I hope I'm not hammering the name, she died Saturday after being thrown from a vehicle during a crash that officials say had both intoxicants and road rage into it. Gistalisi is out of Winfield. She was riding in the rear seat of a pickup truck driven by 18-year-old Austin Thornton out of Crown Point. And witnesses say they crashed after attempting to pass a vehicle that had just overtaken the truck. Thornton remained locked up at the Porter County Jail. He's charged with criminal counts of operating while intoxicated, causing death, reckless homicide, criminal recklessness, driving while suspended, causing death, driving while suspended, causing bodily injury, reckless driving, OWI, endangering a person, driving while suspended, OWI, and minor consumption of alcohol. And Gistalisi's family remembered her as a compassionate sister, daughter, and friend. Sailor was the most beautiful and kind person you could ever meet, according to her father, Robert Gistalisi. She wore her heart on her sleeve, and she was an unforgettable personality on this earth. Didn't matter if you were mad at her or if she was mad at you, she would be the first one to show up in a time of need. So she died of blunt force trauma to the head, and that was about 2:30 in the afternoon Saturday, and who knows? The person in the front was also was taken or had some pain. So, from what I understand, that they were out and somebody passed the driver, and then the driver, I don't know what happened, why the driver felt. I mean, this is, I don't even want to conjecture what happened, but the police are saying both intoxicants and road rage, and somebody dies 3 weeks after graduating high school. Can you imagine?
No, I can't.
I just can't imagine. I mean, I can't imagine what the family's going through. I mean, they're one of us.
Yeah.
They're just region parents. I mean, and we all know that, Tati and Pedro worked here, and Tati was close and knew everybody here, and they died last summer in a car accident down on Route 10, and we had the parents in here just a couple weeks ago, and it's just, I don't even know what you say. That it's never going to go away. And our complete condolences to the Gistalisi family. And that's all that I got to say about that one. Hey, guys, we have the hospice coming up. We're going to play a little bit of music. We're going to get them seated. And then we're going to go on with the Community Programming Initiative. It's actually becoming the Community Podcasting Initiative. If you want one, if you're like, hey, maybe we should at least think about it, a guy named AJ Preboy out of Munster is sending emails out to the various towns and cities. All you got to do is get a hold of either AJ or Adriana and talk about, here's how much it costs, here's how we do it, and the whole process. And you could have your own. And so, Adriana, you're the contact. The email is...
It is Adriana, ADRIANNA at WJOB1230.com, and then the phone number is there as well.
And also they can go to the website, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, you could go to the website, and I know our website is kind of still under construction. We are polishing it up a little bit, and those when you go to sign up for a podcast, we do see the email. We are checking that daily to see if anybody is putting in an inquiry to get more information about doing a podcast. And one of the things that I have seen is that people are asking, what about a radio show? But the thing is, our podcast, all of our radio shows are becoming podcasts. And some say that it is the same thing, and some say that's not. I say that it is a mix of both, best of both worlds, because not only are you getting a radio show and a podcast, but you're also getting it distributed on so many channels that it makes not only your business better, but it also makes it better for us because we start to grow our podcast network. So it is the best of both worlds for signing up for a podcast, because you get all of those perks along with it.
There it is. So please don't contact me on this. I don't know where this is going, but I do know it gives us plenty of content for our radio station. So if you want to tell your story, get a hold of Adriana at WJOB1230.com. I am going to be back Thursday, and then I'll be back next Tuesday. And the following next Thursday is that I don't think I'll be doing a show on that day, am I? That's the 3rd, right?
That's
July 3rd.
July 3rd. What?
Maybe I'll do it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it. But I know that July 8th, Verly texted me. She wants to do it with Michelle Quinn. Did she let you know that?
She just texted me and she asked if we can get an answer.
Yeah, go ahead. Just
okay.
Could you tell her and text her back
know.
And say, please from now on include me on any texts on scheduling and stuff. Because she texted me and I'm like, well, I think that she could do it. I don't mind taking another day. I mean, it's July and we're doing a lot of different things here. So, yes, Verly will be back July 8th. So I'll be here Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday. Then I think I'm actually going to be picking up Fridays back to 3 days a week. Typically, I go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I think Kuziak's going to take a little whirl around the world here, and I'm going to have some of his Fridays during July. Okay. All right, guys, take a little break. Adriana's going to play some music for just a few minutes, and then we're going to bring in the people from hospice, and they're going to do their podcast and their show on the voice and face of the region.